Welcome to our training video for using work items with Blue Canvas to deploy changes in Salesforce in an automated way without using change sets. So when you're using Blue Canvas and work items, you'll get the full benefit of CI and source control so that you can track changes, avoid code clobbering through merge conflict resolution, and speed up deployments and automation. Today we're going to focus primarily on how to use our work items feature. So the first thing to know is that Blue Canvas is automatically picking up commits that you're making. So when you make a change to a class or to a workflow rule or to a field or a custom object, that's getting picked up automatically in Blue Canvas and committed for you. So you can see, this is a basic Salesforce flow. We have a full history of all changes that are going on with that org. So that's going on. So the next thing we're going to focus on today is how we're going to take these automated commits and push them through to the integration org. We're going to associate them with business requirements and tickets and merge them into an integration org for testing and to make sure that all merge conflicts are handled. So this helps manage the deployment process without having to use change sets, and it prevents you from having to worry about merge conflicts. So first, let's go to the work ticket. Now this is a one-time thing that will be done by your release manager. You're going to select your integration sandbox. This is the sandbox where all the developers are going to be pushing their code continuously throughout the sprint. So in this case, let's make July UAT our org. So I've gone ahead and we're setting up that box. So that should be done here in just a second, and you can see that it's successfully created. Now again, that's just a single one-time step. Now, what we're going to do is create work items. So work items are units of work in Salesforce. So these are kind of changes that you want to make. In other systems, you might think of them like tickets. And in fact, you can attach other tickets into them as well, which we'll show in the demo. Let's see. And then you can also create them proactively, i.e. all the items that you want to get done in that sprint, you can create them as work items. Or retroactively, when you've made some changes and want to commit them, you can create it. So in this case, let's do it proactively. So I'm just going to say create no work item. So let's say we're a bookstore, for example, and we're adding a new type of product called notebooks. So add notebooks as custom object with fields, and say include fields for size, pages, and type, ruled, lined, or graphing. Okay, and we're going to say include help text as well. So this is just some information. You can have more, something more detailed about that in there. And now it's like an empty commit here. Now if I wanted to, I could have grabbed this Trello ticket, or if you're using Jira or something else, and I could have pasted that in there when I created it. So now I've got something that's been created. So now let's make those changes in Salesforce. So I can see this here. So I'm going to go into my Salesforce org. I'm in this dev July sandbox here. Let's go into setup. And very quickly, we're going to go into objects. I'm going to create a new custom object called notebooks. And looks like this is all good. We're just going to use the standard template for all of this. So that's now been created. And let's create those fields that we wanted to add. So one of them was going to be, and we'll just make them all text to keep it simple here. So we'll say text, we'll say size, and we'll allow 255, and we'll click next, and save. And we're going to create another one, which will be a number, which will be the number of pages that are in that notebook. And we'll click next, and save. And we'll make one more field, which is for type. So we'll do text again for that. Call it type. Next, and oops. And click next. and save. Okay, so now I've created the fields, I've done everything that's asked of me in this ticket. Now Blue Canvas is going to automatically pick this up and commit it, so we should see it show up in our activity stream in just a second. One thing to note is that when you're creating something from scratch, it can sometimes take up to 10 minutes to sync. Blue Canvas is syncing changes every minute, so if you ever just make a change to a file, it's once a minute. But if ever you end up in a situation where you're creating a new object from scratch, it sometimes takes 10 minutes for us to create that object. So let's wait just a second for that. Okay, so we can see that in our activity stream, our change has shown up. We can see Jack Moxon added layouts and objects. If we click in through here, we can see, yes, we did create the new object. So let's pin it to our work item, right? So we go into the history here. We can see the changes that were made on the dev July branch. You can select between different branches in this way, so you can always find yours. In this case, I'm going to just pin these two changes, which are the search settings and the added layouts, and go ahead and add them. And you can see now they've been added to that work item. If I click on that work item, we can see that the pin changes are there. I can click on either of these to see the diff, which is quite nice. But one thing you'll remember is to include help text. So it looks like we forgot to do that. So let's go back and just add some help text. So we can go into the notebook, and we'll just do it for the type here. We can click on edit and description. Tell us if it's ruled, unruled, or graphing. And we can add that as help text. And we'll go ahead and save that. Now, again, we have to wait a minute because this will be polling. So we can go back to our activity stream here and wait for that to show up. Okay, and now we can go ahead and check on the activity stream, and you'll see that our change showed up. So it looks like we updated the notebook object, and yep, you can see our description and help text showed up now. So just like before, we can go ahead and pin these commits to that same work item. So you can see the work item is open here. Let's add that as well. So that's been added as well. If I return to the work items, I can now see that we have all 3 commits that have been pinned here, which is fantastic. So that's step 1 here. Next, we're going to go ahead and we can deliver these when we're ready. But let's say there's another way. So that was proactive change. Let's say that there's a reactive change that we want to fix. Okay, so let's say there's a hot fix that we want to do. So this is to kind of illustrate how multiple developers can be working on different things and have them pinned to different work items. So let's quickly say we want to just go into the developer console here and open up one of our classes. So this is the a test. Let's go to this class, and let's say we're going to create a new method here, void method2, and empty method for now. And let's say also maybe we want to go into setup here and workflow rules, and we'll click into there, and let's just edit one of our existing rules that we have on the sandbox. So let's edit this one. Is Hemingway, book author, okay, so contains, let's just switch the operator there and click save. Okay, so that is now done. And again, when we just wait a minute, this will show up in Blue Canvas, so we can click over there. And yes, our 2 minutes ago, our commits came in. The changes that we expected, one was done by one developer and one by another. So we can pin them, but actually let's go and work, and let's actually just create a new work item for those. So add empty method and update workflow rule. And I can save that. And now when I go into history, it's going to show me the list, and I can click these last 2 and pin them to that new work item. And again, this is just to show you got multiple work items going at a time. So when I click into work items here, you can see that I've got a few different changes that are here. Now we can deliver our change to the integration org. If I click on the work item, I can see all my pin changes. I can go ahead and click the deliver button, and just wait a few seconds. During this step, what it's going to do is actually look for merge conflicts and do kind of a git check. So you can click on this refresh button in order to see the status. And you can see it looks like done. The contents of the integration org were calculated. We can see the change set here and the diff, which is useful. And of course, we can also see the status says needs upload. That means it hasn't been pushed to the integration org yet. So you can actually, continue to pin things and into the integration org. You can actually validate them, look for merge conflicts. If merge conflicts show up, you'll have a UI where you can fix them here. But then, of course, when we want to actually upload it to the sandbox, all we have to do is go ahead and click on the Upload to Sandbox button. We'll see that we're actually able to run a Salesforce validation and deployment directly onto the integration org. So we've done the merge and git already. That's been tested. Next thing we're going to do here is check on the validation. Again, we can click on this refresh button to get a live log of what's going on. So let's give it just a few more seconds and we'll see what goes on. And you can see that it's successfully deployed the change. Now, if there was a validation error, you get a nice log here as well. So we can see that we've actually uploaded the change to the integration org, and all we have to do now is get ready to deploy it for the release. Turn to the work section in Blue Canvas, we can see that this work item has been successfully promoted to the integration org, and it is status ready. If I click on release 1.0, this will show me kind of what's ready for a release, and I can review all the changes that are included. We can see that it's all ready to go, so I can actually copy this to a deployment request. So this is what I want to do when I want to deploy it to production. So I select my org here. In this case, I'll say prod. I click on save, and then very shortly here, it's going to create a deployment request, run validation, merge conflict checks, all that good stuff, and push it directly into production. So we'll let this run for just a moment and see what happens. And we can see it successfully ran and is ready to deploy. So I can click on here and I can see all the files that were included in that deployment request. So you can see the change to the class, the creation of the notebook, all of that stuff is included as expected. And then when I click on quick deploy, it will actually deploy to our production environment. So that concludes a quick training and demo of the tool. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we look forward to getting it into your hands.